Turning our eyes west, Nate, looking at this Suns and Mavs series, Game 3, we have a similar situation here to that Heat and 76ers Game 3 in that Phoenix is a +1 dog back in Dallas for this one, a total of 220, which is high for sure, but gone over in both of those, higher than you might expect for a Dallas line, but they are back home, a little bit better on offense. So some things that we want to look at and hear. Where do you start? Is it that +1 or that 220 total?
I think it's the +1. I mean, I think you lean on Phoenix being so clutch in the fourth quarter, and you're getting some value because for a little bit they didn't have Book and they weren't as clutch. They were struggling to close out the Pelicans, but I mean, Booker and Paul proved that they are both firing on all cylinders in the second half of that game. They went small, the Suns did. They put Luka in every action. They tried to sap his strength on the offensive end, and he only got 11 points and 4 turnovers in the second half. As Book and CP3 hit basically every shot down the stretch, they finished with 58 points on 63% field goal shooting. The team shot 65% from the floor. Yeah. And now in their last 3, the Suns are shooting 44% from 3, which we talked about as, kind of their only weakness going into this series. Is they've still been beating the Mavs 10 times in a row despite shooting pretty poorly from deep. Chris Paul is in just total control. I mean, he's shooting 75% on his own in this 3-game span with a 154 offensive rating. And on the defensive end, JB, Jalen Brunson, and Dinwiddie are shooting 32% in these 2 games in Phoenix. I think what you can expect is the Dallas offense to get a little bit better here as we go back home. Like you said, in their last 6 games at home, they scored 120. They hit 16.5 threes. The pace was up a little bit for a Mavs team. They were also very good in clutch time at home. But with a 90 defensive rating, that's just not going to hold up against these Suns, no matter where it is. I mean, they have a 127 offensive rating and a 135 defensive rating in this series in the fourth quarter. That is, 30 points per 100 possessions worse defensively than they were doing against the Jazz. The pace is 7 possessions faster in the fourth quarter than it was against the Jazz. So still like the over for sure, even though it's up now 4 points. And you can parlay Suns money line in that over for +240. Seems like really great odds, given how reliable Phoenix is right now. They're 6-2 to the over in this postseason. Now have gone over in 12 of their last 16 postseason games. This season by an average of 7.5 points per game. Like I said, the only exceptions were twice when they held New Orleans under 100 points. I don't think they're holding Dallas to that poor shooting, as Jason Kidd continues to move his lineups around to try to get more offense around Luka. Curious that Dorian Finney-Smith barely played in this game. Davis Bertans playing a lot, which is completely trading offense for defense. Yes. So, I mean, the Mavs are going to try whatever they can to keep pace here, but I don't think they will be able to. And I think that that's, again, great news for the over with the Suns hitting like every shot down the stretch.
Yeah, Suns have been going just crazy, man. 64.5% from the field as a team, and we're talking about small ball. That's on a lot of shots as they're coming down. A 97 pace between these two teams, especially with Dallas, is blistering. Compared to what it normally is. I mean, the Suns did play at a pace of 100, in the regular season, top 10 for sure. So it's not like and that's both on the road and at home. So it's not like they play super slowly, but they played a little bit faster than even they've been playing in the playoffs, because they, like you said, Ayton played 18.5 minutes. Not only that, even like Cam Johnson played 17, JaVale played less than 10. Bismack did get some time in there, as JaVale wasn't actually, he was okay. But either way, there was a lot of Landry Shamet, a lot of Campaign, some Cam Johnson, and then just, a ton of their starters outside of Ayton. And like we said, sub in essentially Cam Johnson, Campaign, Landry Shamet for those Ayton minutes. You just went way smaller. You went way faster. And they're fine with that, because they basically took their recipe in game 1 and said, we're going to outscore you, even if if we, let Luka do his thing and don't really double him or get the ball out of his hands, that's fine. He can get his 35 to 45, and we know the rest of this team will struggle to get to 100. It was the same case here. And it was the second half game for them. It was sort of like the Suns were toying with their food in the first half. They really let Luka get going in that second quarter. You saw a couple of big shots from Reggie Bullock as well, who was 4 for 8 from 3, which was a guy that, if you told me Reggie Bullock's going to go 4 for 8 from 3 in game 2, I would have said that this game would have been closer than the final score in game 1, but it was more of a blowout. Mostly because, like you said, when I asked you why did Dorian Finney-Smith play 20 minutes, you're like, I don't know. I guess Jason Kidd is just blowing in the wind, throwing things out there, seeing if it sticks, just praying and trying to see if he can, somehow trip into the correct lineup. But it's like Dorian Finney-Smith is 6'7" and tailor-made for every single lineup that has ever been created, whether it's small ball or otherwise. So I don't really understand it. And the Bertans minutes were fine, whatever. He hit 3 threes trying to speed up the game. But speeding up the game for them isn't going to work. Like I said, the Suns were happy to play at a pace of 100 on the season. So I don't think that's the game plan for them. But, I think moving forward, you just, it's not like you go away from what they did with Ayton. It's not like you expect him to play the 18 minutes he did. That's a complete anomaly. He was playing 33, plus minutes a game in the playoffs. Because like we said, he's not a center you have to take out of the game. But in this one, I think, what I'm looking for is, once again, the Suns, the thing with me in this game is if the Suns toy with their food in Dallas the way that they did at home, Luka is very capable of just winning this game. And now you're talking about a scenario where, the role players are going to be playing a lot better. You look at the numbers for those bench guys for Dallas, they are going to be playing a lot better. They do have much better numbers at home. Guys like Finney-Smith, Bullock, Kleba, and even Dinwiddie, I believe, since he's been to the Mavs, all perform better at home, as you expect from role players, especially in the playoffs. So, my point is I'm going to go ahead and hit what we continuously talk about in the playoffs, which is a team down 0-2, coming back home to their building, first quarter, first half spreads, feel good about it, come out and get it, especially the way that this series has been going. I would love to hit, and I don't see it yet as a special on DK as we're recording this a little bit earlier than the game's going to be on Friday. We're on Thursday right now, but I would love to see a Mavs, leading at the end of the first quarter, first half, and lose the game bet, and see if I can get the Suns to do that, as they are the best fourth quarter team pretty much in the history of the NBA, as they've continued to show and press into the Mavs as they did in game 2. Once again, they didn't need to score 40 points in the fourth quarter, but they did, because their offensive rating is like historically good in the fourth quarter. And that's what I would continue to feel good about. I could see them getting a sweep or the Mavs getting 1, but those are the only 2 scenarios that I'm really willing to engage with.
Yeah, if you do want that kind of just back and forth feel, the neither team to lead wire to wire is -140, which the Suns did at home, but you'd got to think Dallas at least wins a quarter or 2 as they go back home here. And another thing I like is maybe the Suns to win by 1 through 10 points, +190 at FanDuel. I don't think that they're going to be able to completely separate the way they did at home. I mean, and even in that first game, Dallas came back down the stretch, got their points. You got to expect role players to play better at home, and that includes the 2 other playmaking guards, JB and Dinwiddie, as Dallas goes back here. So I think you can count on their offense to stay up, which it's been pretty good with the 118 offensive rating in this series. But like you said, the Suns just seem to make them think that they have something going, and then just take it away down the stretch. Toying with them to a degree. The Mavs were not, a team that wins as underdogs. They were 25-6 as home favorites, but 15-23 straight up as underdogs. The Suns, you've probably heard before, had more road wins than any team had home wins. They had 3 more road wins than the Dallas one at home. They've been winning the rebounding advantage. They've been winning the points in the paint advantage thus far, and holding Dallas, limiting Luka's playmaking. He has a 40% usage rate and he's shooting a high percentage, but nobody else is getting going because there's nothing open for him. And now Dallas tied with Philly, the Embiid-less Sixers, in the lowest assists per game here in the second round, 17 dimes. Luka, as sensational as an offensive player as he is, I trust him though to keep this offense on pace, just like we were saying in game 2. And but for the other 2 guards to come back at him, and it's two against 1 in terms of just an elite playmaking guard, and that doesn't even count the fact that the Suns can throw all these great wing defenders at him. and Brunson and Dinwiddie, who are just not having the same success they did against Utah's aging backcourt. So like more points here. I think it's once again a great live betting opportunity, as we talked about with the Suns all playoffs here. They're going to keep scoring in the fourth quarter more than other teams, and their defense has not been elite in the fourth quarter. It's just done as much as it has to get those wins, which is why I kind of like them to win by single digits here.
Yeah, no, I'm with it. I mean, if you're gonna take the Suns in this one at +1 with that money line, why not? Yeah, why not do that? I mean, I think they're gonna have to come back a bit, or at least they're gonna be within. Let's say they're down 5 or 6 at the half, still feeling really really good about that. I would feel like the money line for them if they're down 5 or 6 at half might be just pretty much even money at best at that point. As I think we're all very aware at this point of how good they are. After after halftime, essentially. So yeah, I mean, as far as when these props come out, and we'll obviously look to have a props video up for you guys as soon as we have those available to us for this game here. But I think the solidified props for this one. Oh, I'm sorry, there are some out as we're actually talking about this, which is hilarious. So once again, for the props, we were talking about Ayton, just starting there real quick. The 17.5 points. Once again, back to pretty close to double digit boards, needing the 9.5 for him, but it's +110, which is really good. Either of those, maybe, I'd like to see what was going on there. I need to do a little bit more research about why he didn't play to that extent. Why did they choose to go so small, really for the first time all playoffs to that extent? And maybe it was also because he just wanted, other guys to get in there. As Ayton, it wasn't like he was in a ton of foul trouble, but he obviously, gave up some minutes to Bismack in this game as well, getting, his fourth a little bit early in the third. So that had a lot to do with it. So they still had bigs on the floor for a bit of the game. And I like I said, if Ayton's staying out of foul trouble, 9 and 3 in the 18 minutes, it's still you double those numbers to the 36 per. We're talking about, essentially 18 points, only the 6 boards, but whatever, you get my point. So I would still consider him a good bet, especially now that he's down to 17.5. And yeah, just to follow up the last point, we were making about role players for the Mavs. It's some pretty stark differences with guys like, Dinwiddie, 5.5 points better at home, Kleba 2 points better, Bullock 3 points better, and an extra 3 at home. So it's what you expect. And we've been saying under since, really the beginning of this series, after we saw them come out and go, oh, right. This is how this Suns team is going to play them, which is just run them up and down the floor, including in the fourth quarter, where, like we said, they scored 40 in the last one. So that is all the time we have for you guys in this one. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us each and every one of these playoff game videos, as well as those player props. And until we see you next, happy betting.